Hello, Sticky Bandit here. So slightly different video today from normal. Today is going to be a build showcase video rather than my normal invasions or whatever. So if that doesn't float your boat, if you have no interest in that sort of thing, then absolutely fine. Understand that. Feel free to quit out now because it would just be me waffling about my builds for about 10 or 15 minutes. I'm not sure. No joking, no jokes allowed. So don't worry about that. So that's not a problem. The only reason I'm making this, I promise, this is not a dick swinging video at all. I don't think I'm particularly good at making builds, but it's just if you are sub to me or if you watch my videos, you might know that I quite like chatting to you guys in the comments. I think that's one of the fun things about doing YouTube videos, and by far and away the most common questions that I get. Especially since releasing videos using other builds other than my poise monster, are things like what's the build, what's the starting class, what are the weapons, what rings you got, bitch, you know, all that sort of things. So rather than me having to answer the same question again and again and again, and rather than you guys having to ask the same question again and again, I just thought I'd make this this showcase video as a reference point for everyone. And also, I guess if anyone asks me that question again in the future, I can just point them to this video and get those sweet YouTube views, get me that cashish and buy me that Lambo finally. That'd be pretty cool. I was a bit hesitant about making this video for a little while, only because, as I said, I don't think I'm particularly good at. All I do is tend to try and hit soft caps, but also I think a part of the great fun of Dark Souls is sort of figuring out your own play style and building your own builds around that to suit that, or around weapons you find fun. But if this can be like a jumping off point for people to sort of start thinking about their builds differently or whatever, then I think that's a good thing, and hopefully you can get some people making some creative builds and having fun out there. So I've got a few. I don't think I'm going to make any more. Some are quite new and you won't have seen before, that I've only just finished. But I don't think I'm going to be making any more builds now. I think I've used all the weapons I want to use, and I've used all the play styles that I want to get under my belt. So we'll start from the beginning. Yeah, and we'll just work our way up. So my lowest character is the level 30, Musashi, named after the famous Japanese swordsman, who I think had something like over 70 real life duels that he won, like to the death duels. And he specialised in a dual sword technique, so I thought that'd be quite good for my swordsman. So how's best to do this? I guess we'll take off the rings, and then you can see the raw stats. So I started off as a mercenary, and I just pumped everything basically into vigour and endurance, and ended up at 22 in both. Now I've seen a lot of people, a lot of invaders are able to use seemingly minimal endurance, and I don't know how they do it. I'm always super impressed by their stamina management when they do that. I always like to have as much endurance as possible, because I find that in invasions, once shit hits the fan, that endurance can really help. Whether it be you know, panic rolling and running away, which I do quite a lot, whether it be spamming R1s, whether it be chasing down an opponent with running attacks, or chaining together R1s, staggered R1s to do roll catches. I think as much endurance as you can get into your build, I think is brilliant. And so the idea behind this build was basically combo potentials. So what's best? Let me do the rings first of all. So that's the raw stats you can see there. Level 30, everything just went into vigour and endurance. Rings are, the first three rings are going to be very familiar to you guys, or will soon get very familiar, because I think these are, in my opinion, if you're making a melee only build, so if you don't need, you know, the spell boosting rings, you don't need the sage ring or something like that, or lingering crest if you're doing like buffings or anything like that, I think these are the best three rings in the game, and I personally don't see why you would not be using these three rings. Prisoner Chain is now the best ring in the game. It gives you 15 free levels for 3% damage reduction, damage absorption reduction. That's not easy to say. It used to be 10%, and I think the community as a whole basically thought that wasn't quite worth it. It would appear on a few builds, but basically I think most people decided it wasn't worth it. They buffed it, or is it nerf or buff? It was a buff, yeah. They reduced it to 3%, and now everyone, it's essential on all builds basically. Same with the Ring of Favour. You know, it gives you vigour, it gives you endurance, and it gives you What's the other one it gives you? Oh, Vit as well. Yeah, it gives you the same 3 boosts, but a percentage increase. So there's no real reason to use it. And Chloranthy, as I said, I love having Chloranthy on because similar to why I love having so much endurance. It's really useful for when, you know, shit hits the fan and when there's so many actions that you feel like you need to do in a flurry of activity. I think Chloranthy really comes in clutch. And usually the last ring I go for is a damage boosting ring. And that's also the ring that I'll swap out as and when I need it. So in this case, I'm using the Pontiff's Right Eye. I'll explain why in a second. And always the rings that I have as backup are Sun Princess, because it's always good to have a bit of additional healing. Estus Ring, because if you can take the opportunity to back up and get a bit of a breather, it's always nice to get swapped to that when you're healing up, just to get a bit more out of it. Cat Ring, super useful because there's from getting away or from getting the drop on people, and same with Obscuring Ring if you need to just, you know, disappear into the darkness. I find that very useful. And the armor for this one, I've gone for sort of like a blind swordsman kind of feel. Old Sage's blindfold, sunset armor, golden bracelets, and the ordained trousers. And then the weapon choices. The only weapon I'm using are the raw sellsword twin blades, +3, and I'm pairing that with the Old Wolf curved sword. So as I said, the idea of this build is a combo build basically. The Pontiff Right Eye gives you a damage increase if you get multiple hits on your opponent. And also the Old Wolf curved sword. Oh no, I've taken it off. Yep, sorry. I wanted to go to... How do I change the... There's the go. So this also gives you a boost in attack if you get consecutive hits. And it also, which is quite cool, restores some of your HP. So what you're looking to do with this build is basically use the advantage of the cell swords to either use the L1s to combo or to use like the Ouroboros combo. And once you hit with that, it's like a 5-hit combo. So all the hits will steadily increase in damage because of you're getting the boosts from the ring and the sword, and you're also getting some health back. And the idea for this one is basically level 30 at +3 is great for invasions in the swamp. It always seemed like a fun area to me to invade in. But I always just in my playthroughs always seem to get too high level too quickly to take advantage of that. So I mix up between being a blue and being in the Farron Watchdogs, and also invading here as well. And I am obviously twinked up to the max, but I don't feel too bad because in this area I would say 70 to 75% of my invasions are meeting other twinked up people. This is Twink Central. If you know Pontiff's is Gank City, then this is definitely Twink City. You do occasionally meet the odd solo host, and then it's up to you whether you want to take it easy on them and crystal out, or just go straight in for the kill. Yeah, I've been having a lot of fun with this build recently. It's quite a newer build, but the other thing I would say is I've made my cell swords raw because at low level I find that AR is not important at all. The most important thing I think at lower level is definitely to have vigor at number 1. Have as much vigor as possible. So I've hit that 22 limit, 27 with the ring, and then I just personally like to have as much endurance as possible. Other people might decide it might be better off. Oh god, yeah, that's probably what I'm going to get quite a lot of. I was going to say. I know that you guys like to give me advice in the comments, which I'm more than happy to take because I've learned some interesting things from the comments, some new stuff that I didn't know before. But if we could maybe not have so many of the Sticky, if you take 3 points out of endurance and 1 out of strength and put them into attunement, you could literally make the strongest build the world's ever seen. Like, it's okay, guys. I'm not trying to make I'm not trying to min-max out to the tits. I'm not trying to make the strongest builds of all time. You know, you'll soon find out at the end of this. I don't have any Dark Infusion builds, anything like that. You know, 30-30 Faith and Int builds. I'm just trying to have builds that I have fun with is all. So you know, but that's that build. Low level combo build for the swamp basically. We'll go on to the next guy. So next is my level 60. This is Peleus, who, as I'm sure you all know, is the father of Achilles. And basically my thinking behind this is I was actually going to make a twin sort of build. So I was going to make Peleus was going to be my level 60 Dex build. And then I was going to make a twin build at 125 who was going to be called Achilles. And that was going to be my super try hard, you know, 40 Dex, 30 Int and Faith, Dark Infused Lothric Sword, Chaos Dagger, all that good stuff. But it actually turned out that I have spent a lot of time with this build, but it's actually my least favourite build to play with. It's just, I find Dex very unsatisfying to play with, and I find playing one-handed as well to be very unsatisfying. I'm not much of a parry man in any way. I have no parry skills. But yeah, I just don't find it very satisfying. So in the end, I decided to I didn't build the other build. But we'll go through this guy, take the rings off, and start off here. So it starts off as the warrior, and as you can see, it went 30 vigor, 25 endurance, 16 strength. Actually, is that the base strength? I'm not sure now. And then 33 dexterity. Rings are the same first 3 rings that you'll always see on all my builds have these rings, basically. Chain, Favour, and Chloranthy. And then the last ring is the Hunter's Ring, just to boost my dex a bit. And then I've got the same rings as backup. I also have the Leo on this build, because I do have some spears that I could use. And then so if I'm using a spear, it's better to use this for the counter of damage, rather than the Hunter's Ring. The fashion, so there you can see on the right how that boosts my stats. The fashion for this one is the Thief's Mask, Deserter's Armour, the Black Iron Gauntlets, and the Black Knight Leggings. I quite like that look. I think I do think this one looks quite cool, this character. And then I guess the main setup for this build is the because I'm at 60, I've gone to +6 on my weapons. So it's the Sharp Lothric Sword, Llewellyn Shield, a backup light crossbow, which is really useful. I mean, this combo on its own is horrible to face, because they come in close, you can spam the R1s. If they try and stay away, you can try and get them with the explodey bolts. I'm not terribly good at free aiming, but if you can do that, then it's really useful. And then obviously this to look for those sick parries, so you can make your montages. And then some backup weapons that I've got on this build, you can see here. I think pretty much everything's sharp in views, but I'll just go through them slowly, so you can pause the video and look through them. But just a variety of, that's not supposed to be there. That's obviously something I think I just picked up on when I must have been going through the level and just picked that up. But just a variety of, the only Slayer I can use, it says I can't use it there, but actually once I go two-handed, I can use it. So it's always useful to have a ranged weapon. But yeah, that's the build. Various weapons. As I said, it's an effective build. Don't get me wrong. This obviously this sort of combo is the best combo in the game. Lothric's sword and a shield. Probably not this shield. Maybe the Black Knight shield. But yeah, it's a devastating combo. But it's just one that I don't particularly enjoy playing. I don't have fun with it. I just seem to much prefer weapons that have a bit of weight to them. So when I do use this, recently when I've been using it, I find I've been going to things like the Flamberge two-handed, or the Hollow Slayer, or actually these are actually quite fun as well, using these two-handed. But yeah, just playing one-handed just doesn't seem to be for me. So I sort of this build's got a bit on the back burner, and it's also the reason why I didn't make my twinned 125 try-hard build. But yeah, so that's that one. We'll move. And next we've got Goliath. If I were to tell you his surname was Thunderhead, would anyone be able to guess who he is? No? Maybe? So Goliath is the dwarf, the axe-wielding dwarf from Golden Axe. Does anyone remember that game? It was a sick game back in the day. So this is my level 70 build. This is the one that uses the twin axes. And this is definitely what I feel to be my most powerful build. So much so, in fact, that one comment on the video that was using this was something like, I'm pretty sure you're using Cheat Engine to modify your stats. It's like, nope, I'm on PS4, unfortunately, I can't do that. But yeah, the power all comes from the weapon itself. So let's head to the stats, and over here. So again, most of my builds start as the warrior, because I'm generally melee only, and the warrior then tends to be the best starter for that. And now from this point onwards, the builds are going to start looking sort of fairly similar, because from now on we can start hitting soft caps. So I've gone vigor 35. I put my strength up to 35. I put my dexterity up to 12, just so I could use the weapon, and then everything else was pumped into endurance, which I managed to then get up to 32. If we pop on the rings, the first 3 will be familiar, and you'll get sick of me saying this soon, but the same rings as you'll always see, and then a damage boosting ring, and then I've got the same for backups. I know I often see people having loads and loads. Like when I see Saints invade, he seems to have loads of backup rings. I tend to not want to keep my inventory too cluttered. I'm sure there are other rings that would be beneficial, like life ring. I'm sure would be good. The ring that you get when you killed Sorig, what's it called? I can't remember what it's called, but the one that basically lets you break shields more easily. That could be useful in certain situations. I'm sure there are other ones, but I just like these 4 do me, and I tend not to keep my inventory too cluttered, as I say. So you can see that now I've got the rings. I've hit the soft cap in vigor. I've hit the soft cap in strength, and I've got a real lot of endurance. The fashion for this one is Sunset Helm, Follower Armor, Havel's Gauntlet, and Cathedral Leggings. And then the build itself, because I'm level 70, I've gone for +8 as my weapon upgrade level. I've got the Blessed Cestus, because why not have a bit of additional healing? And then the star of the show, the winged, the heavy winged twin axes, which at my 40 strength has an AR of 352. You can see that, and you might think, well, that's not particularly good. But you have to remember that my L1s will hit you 4 times. So in effect, my AR is 704. And now suddenly it seems a bit better, doesn't it? And the stamina consumption that you use on these is just tiny. I mean, it's just crazy how low it is. So you can just spam out so nicely with these weapons, and they destroy. I mean, this is one of the few builds that I actually enjoy seeing high-level Phantoms, because their health just melts away with this build. It's not a guaranteed win by any means, because these axes have no hyper armor. So if you get hit by a fart during any point in your swing, you're getting knocked out of it. But if your spacing is on point, then you can wreck lives. And also the one thing that I really like about this build is I see videos from a lot of the PS4 boys doing the Estus punish, where they run in for an unlock and they run in for a backstab. I'm personally terrible at that. I often think that I always just go for the guaranteed free damage of 2 R1s, rather than trying to go for the backstab, because it does seem in the video, yes, it's great when you get it, but it does often seem it's like a bit of a 50-50. If you miss it, then you've sort of wasted an opportunity to get some free damage on your opponent. But in this case, the L1s actually do more damage than the backstab, so this is perfect for me. If someone goes for a heal anywhere near me, I'm just spamming out my L1s and people are in trouble. I do have some backups on this weapon. As you can see, I'll go through them slowly, and you can just sort of pause the video again. That's actually not supposed to be there. I think I might have accidentally killed Andrew recently and picked up a sword, so that's not supposed to be there. Notable ones here. This one was in a video of mine, the Stormer. It's a fun weapon, actually. It's got a surprisingly good range. Unfortunately, I realised on a particularly long invasion, I didn't see it before, it's only got 10 durability, which came as quite a surprise during a long invasion. So I put a bastard sword there as a greatsword backup. And Morningstar, I don't see a lot of people use it. I understand why, because there are just better options. The Mace has a better AR, and the Warpick has the potential for more damage if you're willing to give up a weapon slot on Leo Ring. But it's got the exact same moveset, and the Perseverance. Two-handed is a monster. It's surprising how often you will get 3 R1s because people panic roll away, and that third R1 catches them. But the star of the show is absolutely these. All I would say about these is, if you're using them, is do not go for the third L1. The third L1 is slow and, in my experience anyway, gets you punished, so I would not recommend using that. If you're looking to combo, going to L1s into an R1, that's actually quite a good roll catch if someone panic rolls away after you've got them into the L1 stun lock. And also the other thing I've noticed, I'll try and demonstrate it here, the L1 moving forward reduces the L1 cooldown or sort of animation. I don't know how best to do it. So look, if I do an L1 and then we try and wait for his arms to get back to a neutral position like that, okay? I want to try and do 2 L1s in a row, but I want it to be that first L1, if that makes sense. You see that one, rather than it being the second L1, which is the overhead. Now, if you're standing still and do it, even though his arms are in neutral there, it still seems to take a very long time for him to come into the recovery position. But what I found is, if you're pressing forward on your stick, and this is probably true for all weapons, but I've just noticed it specifically for this weapon, but if I'm pressing L1, then as soon as he starts moving again, he goes back to, it sort of resets the animation and lets me just use his first L1 constantly. Do you see what I mean? Hopefully I've explained that somewhat well. And this first L1 is your best tool with this weapon. Has surprisingly good range. It's surprisingly wide. It's actually really fast. I think it's almost as fast as an R1. And this is definitely my my poking and prodding tool. I'm trying to space someone out. You know, imagine the bonfire is my opponent. I'll try and float around them and wait for them to attack and then punish them with that, because it's got great range and the hitbox is really wide and wonky. So even if they try and roll away from you, the first swing the left hand axe might miss, but the right hand axe might miss, but that left one might hit them afterwards. So it's a surprisingly good tool, and this is definitely what I feel to be my my strongest build. So next we've got Morgri, my level 80. Morgri was one of the 3 princes that served under Charlemagne, and he of course used, that's right, you guessed it, a magical sword. And this is my Moonlight Greatsword build, and this is probably what I feel to be my second strongest build. And it's really nothing to do with my building skills, it's just the weapons that I've chosen. The twin axes are super strong at low level, and also the Moonlight Greatsword is super strong at low level. I imagine if you could use it at even lower levels, it would absolutely destroy. If you could get it at 60 or 70. So we will take off the rings and head over to my stats. Again, starting as the warrior, because I don't really use much attunement. I don't care about attunement. And now we're hitting soft caps basically in everywhere that I want to. So we've got 35 in Vig, 35 in Endurance, 11 Vitality. Is that the base? I don't think so. I think I might put a little bit in, I'm not sure. Then the base requirements for the weapon in Strength and Dex, 16 and 11, and then 35 Intelligence. The rings will be super familiar. Prisoner, Favour 3, Chloranthy 3, and then Scholar this time. And that gets me up to 40 Vig, 40 Endurance, and 40 Intelligence. The fashion for this one is the Nameless Knight's Helm, Faram's Armour, Alva Gauntlets, and the Elite Knight Leggings. This was my favourite fashion that I managed to put together before, spoiler alert, an upcoming build, but this was my favourite fashion. And then we've got, plus because I'm at level 80, I think plus 10 is fine. So I've gone Blessed Cestus and the star of the show, the Moonlight Greatsword, and then some backup weapons. Because I've got such low strength and dex, it does sort of restrict what weapons I can use, but I've got a few things here. Long as you can see, you can just pause it and see. Heavy crossbow. I quite like this if I come across a bad matchup, or if I want to go a bit try hardy, then I can go to my shield and sword combo. And I quite like this shield because I think it matches quite well with the fashion. You get the sort of the blue. I don't know. I quite like the tree on it as well. I think that looks awesome. But anyway, one thing you might notice is that I sort of tend not to have the same weapons between builds. That's just because if you wanted to win, you go 30 intelligence, you go 30 faith, you dark infuse your longsword or your Lothric straight sword, and that's what you can do. And I see a lot of people. I'm not absolutely not shitting on anyone, but I see a lot of people have many different builds at many different levels. But they always have the straight sword. They always have, I don't know, a chaos dagger. They always have a parrying shield. They always have a claymore or something that their favourite weapons that they seem to have on all the builds. But I try to not use the same weapon across different builds, even with backup weapons, just to try and keep it a bit more exciting, just to give me a bit more variety when I'm using different characters. Yeah, so that's that build. This one is. I mean, I've released quite a few videos on this one. I think this was my first, my second character. Obviously, my poison monster got to maxed out tongues first, but this is my second character to do it. I mean, it really does just destroy at level 80. I like it a lot, and I tend to invade in the Grand Archives mostly for this character. Did I say before? I think I did. I'm not sure whether I did. My level 70 guy I invade at Lothric Castle. My level 60 guy I like to invade in Central Irithyll, but obviously Gank City is the busiest area, but I'm not really a fan of that zone, so I tend to go in Central Irithyll and the dungeon as well. Irithyll dungeon I can get into, and also I can get into Profane Capital as well. And my level 30 guy is Swamp, but he can also go into the Cathedral as well. So next is Taranis, my level 90. He's called Taranis because that is a Celtic thunder god. And originally I made this build to use the I can't even remember what it's called now. It's called I think it's called the Dragon Slayer Sword Spear. It's the one that basically the Nameless King uses. It's a really fun weapon. I enjoy using it in PvP when I duel on the very few occasions that I duel. I always enjoyed using it. So I wanted to make an invasion build around it. Sadly, I could not get it to work in invasions for me. I don't know what it was. Maybe my build just wasn't good enough, but I just couldn't get it to work. So I reworked the build and made it a quality build. So we'll take the stats off. Yeah, again, starting as the warrior, 35 in Vig, 35 in endurance, 13 Vit, so that's so I can use my fashion on my heaviest weapon, 26 in strength, 34 in dex, and 10 in intelligence. And you might be looking at that thinking, well, that's more of a dexterity build, isn't it? Let me just pop my rings on. And yes, it is a bit more actually. And I've got the hunter's ring is the boosting ring, and now you're looking at it thinking, well, that's definitely just a dex build. However, the majority of the weapons I use on this I use two-handed, and obviously when you use a weapon two-handed, your strength gets the 1.5 multiplier. So in effect, my strength is actually 39. So I'm a 39-39 build. The reason I didn't go 40-40 is because I decided to use those 2 extra points of intelligence to put into intelligence, so that I could use this bad boy, the Pontiff Knight. And I've got a load of different weapons on this one, my heaviest. Oh, I didn't do fashion, did I? Sorry, I should definitely, because this is now actually my favourite fashion. So this is Millwood Knight Helm, Leonard's Garb, Gundir's Gauntlets, and the Knight Leggings. So this is definitely, I think this one looks awesome. I'm particularly proud of this one. I think he looks really cool, this character. So the heaviest weapon on this, so we've got the usual Blessed Cestus. The heaviest weapon on this is a Profane Greatsword. But my favourite invasion combo for this is either Claymore with the Ringed Knight. That also gets me to 69.9 as a backup. Or Black Knights. A Black Knight Greatsword with a backup Pontiff, which is also 69.9. This is. I'm not good enough with this. I think if I get good enough with this, then I might be, because the roll catching potential is really great if someone starts panic rolling. And this is just pure power. This thing on a dex build. Obviously, dex got a bit screwed over. It used to be the strongest back in the day, but with the buffs to sharp and heavy infusions, these sort of builds have fallen on the wayside a bit. But it is really fun. It's great with unfusible weapons. Basically, it really does shine. So things like Gales, things like the Profaned, things like the Old Wolf really shine in a quality build. And there again, you can pause. And sort of see the different weapons that I've got, and the vast majority of these weapons I will be using two-handed. So obviously these two I won't, but I'm only ever using them to chase down an opponent. Everything else will be two-handed. Again, same sort of rings. I do have the Leo ring on this build because I do have a few spears. In particular, the Lothric long spear. Since I've started using this, I don't know why more people don't use this. You do have to play quite carefully, but it's an absolute monster, especially when paired with that. It just destroys people. The R1s into an R2 is a very good roll catch for someone panic rolling away. The weapon art is fantastic. Yes, it is parry bait, but if you use it at the right time as a punish for someone panic rolling away or for someone healing, it's a monster. So I definitely have a lot of respect for this weapon. Have a backup great bow, have a couple of shields there if I want to go try-hardy sort of sword and board. But as I said on my level 60 guy, I'm not a fan of sword and board. I'm not very good at one-handed, so I don't tend to use that too often. But that's my quality guy with my favourite armour set. So next we have Gestas, who I've only just finished. Oh, actually, I haven't even quite finished building him yet. Gestas is one of the thieves that was crucified along with Big JC. I'm not sure if he's the penitent thief or the impenitent thief. I think he's the impenitent one, but it's been a very long time since I've last read the old Bible, so don't hold me to that. And you might have guessed he's a build centered around using the crucifix of the Mad King. And I know I said that my last build that was using the Dragon Slayer I didn't quite like, and this is another halberd. However, this does have, as I've said before and I will say again, the best R2 in the game, the Great Club R2, which is a great roll catching machine with deceptive range, and it's also got the cool L2s, which you can then combo into weapon arts, and you can do the R1s into the L2s, into the weapon arts. It's got real good combo potential, and I have been having some success with this one. So let's do the stats. So this one actually started with the pyromancer. Look at my character screen there. You can't see anything because the weapon's so big. But okay, so this one we put 35 into vigor, 35 into endurance, 35 into faith, and then the rest was pumped into strength, which I've got up to 24. So this isn't completely finished yet. We've got on the same usual rings, same first three, and then the faith increasing ring, which gets me to soft caps in vigor, endurance, and faith. And then my strength is at 24, and when I'm two-handing it, that goes up to 36. So that's pretty close to the soft cap as well. This weapon scales well in both strength and faith. The fashion for this one is the Slave Knight hood, the Alva armor, the Elite Knight gauntlets, and the Nameless Knight leggings. I actually think this one looks really cool as well. And then the weapons themselves are the crucifix of the Mad King. I've got a backup weapon of a lightning dagger. Chaos would have actually been more a slightly higher AR, but everyone runs the Chaos dagger, so I thought I'd go for a lightning dagger. And I sort of thought it was cool with the sort of lore of the character that I've got a dark weapon and then a light weapon. I thought that was quite a nice juxtaposition. This time I've got these simple cestus because I've decided that in my invasions to not actually have any blue estus at all, and to actually rely on the simple cestus sort of topping me up. I do have a backup blessed cestus there. I haven't upgraded it yet all the way because I still haven't quite finished the build. Oh, I've obviously just gone and got the Dark Rift. That's not part of the build. That's obviously something I've just picked up recently. And then the Canvas Talisman, which has the if you're at the soft cap of Faith, it has the best spell buff. And then I am running a spell on this one. I'm running how do I show that? I've just come out of it. Yeah, I'm running Dark Blade as well. So you can see that my AR is currently 547, and then if I whack on Dark Blade onto this weapon, and then go back to that, I'm at 701, which is just a mad AR. And obviously Dark is a great damage type to do because people have less damage absorption than most other weapon types, or damage types, sorry. So this is just about buffing up, and then it's just about hitting people, getting people into combos, R1s into L2s, L2s into weapon arts, and just trying to get as much damage as possible. I've invaded with a few times. I think I've won all the invasions so far. The other thing that I was doing is that when I was creating this build, I was doing it on a dried finger run, and I didn't lose to a single invader. I know that's not particularly impressive because obviously I was pretty twinked out throughout all my run, and obviously invaders have less health, so it's not particularly hugely impressive feat. But I just thought it was noteworthy that so far I am undefeated with this character so far. I'm sure, I have no doubt that will change, and I still need to get a few more chunks. To get up my lightning dagger, and also to get up my other cestus in case I need to flick to that if I'm running low on health. But yeah, there probably will be some invasions, or I imagine there will be some videos with this character at some point if I have some success with it. But that's my other level 90 guy. And just before I get into my next guy, I think I forgot to say, my level 90 guys, I tend to invade in the DLCs are best. So I actually like to go from the Corvin settlements. I think is my favourite spot, and also the bonfire after that one, I can't remember what it's called. But I really like to invade in the first DLC with the 90 guys. Or if there's not much activity there, the second DLC is also very active at 90. If you go from any of the bonfires really, but you can get some good activity. But now we move on to my 125 guy. This is my OG swank, Goliath himself. That's my second Bible reference. Oh wow, I didn't realise that. But yeah, this is my original poise monster. Probably still my favourite build at heart. Although I don't really get to play with him that often anymore because 125, I really struggle to find invasions at 125. I don't know about anyone else, but I definitely have to wait. And it's not like I have to wait hours, but I have to wait, 5-10 minutes for an invasion sometimes, and that can get frustrating after a little while. And I just think, oh, you know what, screw it. I'll go to my 70, 80, or 90 guys, and then I can get an instant invasion. This build was originally built before the prisoner chain buff. So I will tell you the stats before. I'll tell you the stats of how it was beforehand in case you think that one's better. But okay, so currently it's again starting as the warrior, 35 Vig, 35 endurance, 40 Vit, 54 strength, and 16 dex. And we'll pop the rings on. So this time it's slightly different. This time the wolf ring I have on, and that's a ring that I can't get rid of. The prisoner chain and the favor I can't get rid of, and then Clorinthi is the one this time I'll swap out if I need to. That's because I wanted to get my poise above 45.81, which was a break point for basically if you're using ultra great swords two-handed, that would allow you to trade with everything in the game apart from great hammers. 45.81. That was back in the day. I don't know if that's been changed or updated. I know there have been some ninja. I think there have been some ninja changes to poise along the way, so that might not be true anymore. But that's what my build was, and I haven't been bothered to really do much research because, as I said, invasions have sort of dried up, and I don't use this build as much as I'd like to anymore. The fashion is the black iron helm, the cathedral knight armor, and then the exiled arm and legs. I think that's quite a cool one as well. I think Cathedral Knight is probably my favourite set in the game, so I was chuffed to get it onto a build. And then obviously Blessed Cestus, and this one's just got a ton of weapons, just a huge variety of weapons I can sort of flick between. You can sort of pause if you want to. It's got all weapon types. You've got Uchi Katana. It's got everything on here basically. Just a huge variety because this used to be basically my only build that I would invade with. All the other ones that I've been showing you today have come after this build. This was the only one I played with. So I basically had all the weapons I wanted to use on it. But I guess my main setup is Lothric Greatsword and then backup follower Javelin, and that gets me in at under 70%. The way the build used to be before I had the Prisoner Chain was I had, and these are raw stats because I didn't have any boosting, boosting rings. I had 44 Vigor, 40 Endurance, 35 Vit, 45 Strength, and 16 Dex. And instead of the Prisoner Chain, I had the Havel's Ring. The reason I had 45 Strength was just to use the... well, I can't remember what they're called, but you know, the one from the second DLC, the one that it's a weapon, it's like a big shield that looks like two doors. I'm sure you know what weapon I'm talking about. And then I had 44 Vigor just because I didn't know what else to put my stats in. And then I only had 35 Vit because that paired with the Havel's Ring allowed me to carry everything I needed to. I've dropped it. I've now put this on. I've had to go put my Vit up to 40 raw, which goes up to 45. I had to lose a couple of weapons, only the heaviest two weapons, which were the Ultra Paired Greatswords and that shield that I was talking about earlier. They're a bit too heavy now to use, but that's quite right, because I only ever used them if I was memeing about with friends in duels. I never ever used them in invasions, so I thought it's quite easy to get rid of them. I put my Vigor down to 40, because there really is no reason to go above 40 on Vigor. I only had it at 44 before, because as I said, I didn't know what else to put it into, and then I just went as much strength as possible now. And actually, the build is actually stronger now, because even though my damage absorption has gone down by a couple of points, my defense has actually increased by, I think, 15 or 20 points, because I've got more Vig and strength, and also obviously my AR has gone up as well because I've got more strength. So the build is actually stronger than it was before, only at the cost of a couple of weapons that I don't use, and in exchange for that, I've got more AR and I've got more defenses, so it's pretty good. Yeah, I only now really tend to use this build if I'm dueling with friends or with subs. Is the only time I get to use it, because as I said, it just seems to take too long to find invasions. Even at the Ring City, it just, for me anyway, in my experiences, it takes me too long. But yeah, this is my OG boy. This is the hero. This is the one that will live forever. This is my Giant Dad 2.0. But we'll go on to the final character. And the final build is my 140, and that's Hephaestus. who of course is the Greek god of, well, he's Greek god of many things. I think metalwork and blacksmithing and woodwork and maybe even like artisans, I'm not sure, but also of fire. And as you might have guessed at this point, the names of my characters is a bit of a running theme with the characters themselves. And this is it's not quite a pyro build, but it's using sort of pyro based weapons. And so we will take the rings off and start from, oh yeah, that's where I want to go, and go from here. So he starts off as the knight, and we've got 35 vig, 14 attunement, 35 endurance, 17 vit, 26 strength, 20 dexterity, 35 intelligence, and 40 faith. We will put the rings on. First three can all be guessed at this point, and then the last ring is the intelligence ring. And so now you can see my stats are 40s in vig, in endurance, in faith, and in intelligence. My strength is 26, so that when I'm two-handing my main weapon, that goes up to 39, which is pretty much hitting the soft cap. And the idea, fashion first, sorry, I've got the ring knight's hood, the millwood armour, the black gauntlets, and the black iron leggings. I sort of all in black, which sort of fits with the weapon choices as well. And it's a couple of weapons I wanted to use, but the Onyx in particular, I struggled to get to work at lower levels. It just seems to need a lot of investment to get a decent return from it, in my opinion. I could be wrong, but that's how I feel anyway. And then I also wanted to use the Witch's Lock. And so basically, obviously 40-40 gets the best out of their scaling in fire and in dark. The 26 strength lets me get to near 40, near the soft cap, when I'm two-handing this. And then the 20, that I just had a few levels left, which I just whacked into dexterity, which did slightly boost this because this has D in dexterity, but also boosted the damage of the Witch's Lock. I've got that with, I've got a simple cestus. I do have a blessed. I've not quite. This is quite a new build as well. I've not quite finished. I have a blessed as well if I need it, but I thought the simple is better. The 14 attunement is for Tears of Denial. Because everyone at sort of high levels seems to have Tears of Denial, so I thought might as well put it on there. And also I'm using the Filianor chime, because that's got a really useful weapon art that gives you healing, but you don't even need to have it equipped, so I can pop it and I can change to my cestus, and I'm still healing now. As you can see, my health is ticking up slowly there. Yeah, and I've actually gone back to my blessed cestus, so that's quite cool. And the reason I made this build is actually probably a bit of a mistake. I was watching Peeve recently, and he was using a build, and then he switched over to his 140 character, and I remembered he had that whole thing with him and Oro did their player covenants at 140, and he was just getting mad instant invasions in in Pontiff, just like constant invasions and being invaded, and it looked really fun. So I thought I'd make my own, and then I tried it myself, and of course there's there's nowhere near as much activity as he was having. And then I realised, well, of course he's Peeve. He's got 1,000 people watching him. Probably half of those are trying to snipe him. So of course he's got great activity. But it is a fun build. I do think it looks quite cool as well. A bit on the fat side because of the millwood. But it was using basically a couple of weapons I wanted to try out, and certainly the Onyx I couldn't seem to get to work at lower levels. But here with quite a lot of investment, it does quite good work. It's obviously got the self buff, which is quite cool. It sends its AR pretty high, up to 693, and you get that dark damage. And I haven't even done the final boss on this one. I'm still playing through the game to try and get all my upgrades and stuff. But I've done a little bit of invading in Pontiff. Again, it's just slow going, unfortunately. So I'm not sure how much I'll get to use this weapon, this build. Probably only for if I'm messing around with people, or if Peeve is ever back on. Maybe I can try and snipe him or something. I don't know. But yeah, that's my last build. The only thing about this build. No, oh god, no, sorry, it was the other build. Sorry, it's just come to me actually. Let me just. So that's this build, and I'll go back to one other one because I've just had a thought. So we're just back to Gestas, because I did just have a thought at the end of that one. Because I haven't played through the second DLC on this character yet. I'm still playing through the base game just to get my upgrades and whatnot. But I was thinking that maybe once I played through the second DLC and that I get the lightning arrow spell, I might take 2 points out of strength, put them into entombment, and then have that as well as just a bit of a mix-up, bit of a finisher. I am terrible with management of stuff, because you guys know, if you've seen my videos, how bad I am at managing items. So I think my management spells would be terrible. And I'm not a particular big fan of the idea of having to give up an orange Estus for a blue Estus. But I might try that on this character, just to give it a little bit of an extra tool, a notch in its belt. And the other thing that I need to test out, really, I was having a chat with Deus in the Discord about, he's actually also making a build, a crucifix build, and he's actually pairing it with poise to take advantage of the great L2s. So I'll be interested to talk to him afterwards, or once he's finished his build, to see how he gets on, because I think that might be actually the best way to get the best out of this weapon, is to pair it with poise. But I'm just hoping that if my spacing is good enough, because of the reach of the R1, that I might be able to outplay people. But I'm not sure. I'll have to see how we go. So far it's been okay, but I'll definitely have to see. I definitely think that he might be going down the better route than I am. But yeah, as I said, we'll have to compare notes down the line and see on that one. But as I said, there might be a slight tweak to this build down the line once I've finished the second DLC and picked up Lightning Arrow. That might just be a slightly better use of that. But that's it. That's all of my builds. I don't think I'll be making any more. I've managed to incorporate all the different types of build, strength, dex, quality that I want. I've also got some specific builds around specific weapons that I wanted to use, and I've got them across all sorts of different soul level ranges, so that I can invade, across the board in many different types of areas across Lothric. So yeah, that's about it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Oh, and one more thing, just in case anyone is still here watching the video, I'm sure you would have clicked all out a while ago, but I just thought I'd mention this. I put out a video a couple of days ago. God, I don't know why this is happening recently with the failing to log in, but I put a video a couple of days ago, and I just noticed that the activity on it is really low. Now, Occam's Razor would obviously suggest that it's just because you guys are tired of me, and I'm just, well, fuck this, I'm not watching any more of this guy's shit videos, which is fair enough. But I just noticed the views are like a third of what they normally are, and the comments are under half what they normally are. And it's just because I fear because I put, the title of the video was Tit for Tat, and I wonder whether you hear so much these days about this YouTube algorithm, whether because I had the word tit in the title, whether it's been sort of buried. But I just thought I'd mention it in case you guys didn't get a notification or didn't see it, whatever happened. There was a video from a couple of days ago, which I think people who have seen it seem to enjoy very much. So I don't know. I just throw it out there in case you guys missed it or whatever. But yeah, that's my build showcase. If you've got any comments, feel free to leave it to me. Got any more questions? But hopefully I've gone over everything. So yeah, that's it. Take it easy and catch you guys later.